Welcome. Today I'll be probably ranking my small forwards in the NBA from the D range up to the S range. Now, some guys like LeBron, who we think of as small forward, is not on this list because actually this year he actually played point guard. So just keep that in mind if there's some guys that are on the list that you think are small forwards. And also Zach LaVine's on this list because he actually played more small forward this year because they started like Kobe White and Chris Dunn or like or Tomas Sadaransky, guys like that. so, so we'll start off with the D range. For me, the worst guy on this list is Isaac Bonga, for sure. I don't know why he starts. Honestly, he is not good. He's just a really bad starter and not even a good bench player, to be honest. Um, Next after that, I would go Svi Kulu. He was in the shooting guard video, but I guess he is. I guess he also can classify as a small forward. He's also just. I mean, he's an okay bench player, but really bad, not a good starter. And then I would go Cedi Osman, same thing. Really good bench player, not a good starter. I'll put Osman ahead of Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson's After that, Luke Lindsay Dort. He's he's okay. He does his job. I mean, he just his job is just to play defense. The Thunder always have a guy like that just to play defense. Tobias Sevalosha and Andre Roberson, and now Dort is kind of he's not as good as those guys, but that's his role. I think that's probably all the D range. I think everyone else is a good amount better. Oh, Mo Harkless is in the D range too. Mo Harkless, he was solid in Portland, but now eh, he's just an A player. I'd go Avery Bradley as the first C. He's actually had a pretty solid season, and people forget that in Boston he was actually like a really good player. He'd be like a solid B in Boston, and the last couple years he's been really bad, like in the D range. But this year he's stepped it up, and he's actually a pretty important piece to a top three team in the NBA, which is pretty good. Next, I would go, oh, probably Josh Okogie. Not yet, actually. I'll go Trevor Ariza first. He's just getting old. I mean, it's respectable that he's still a C. He's been in the league for forever, it seems like. He's always a really good defender, a good shooter, and he's just getting old. Not the defender that he used to be. So, he's probably a C at this point. Danuel House, he's a really good 3-point shooter, but that's pretty much about it. What the good thing about him is that he fits the Rockets team perfectly. They need to be surrounded by shooters, and that's why he gets so many minutes. I'll go Josh Okogie next probably because he's just such a good. He's a really good defender. Not really much of a scorer, but his hustle and defense like makes him a pretty solid player. Next, I'd probably go DeAndre Hunter next. Okogie might be ahead of ahead of DeAndre Hunter, but Hunter's ability to score is just way better, and he was supposed to be like the best defender in the draft, one of the best. He's actually not been much of a defender, so maybe he definitely has some improvement to be made, but I mean, playing on Virginia, that's like the best defensive school in college, so he should be able to improve a lot. I would go Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, this some people might think this is a little bit high for him, but he's actually pretty solid. He's a really good defender, great hustler, and a solid shooter. And he's a really big piece, like a really big piece to a playoff team in the West. So I don't. I kind of like Finney Smith's game. You can even put him ahead of Harrison Barnes. I can put Harrison Barnes anywhere, but I'll put him right here. Harrison Barnes, I don't know what happened. Like on the Mavericks, he looked like he was pretty good, and then he's just one of the most inconsistent players. Like some games he could go for 25 on efficient scoring, and then the next game like he could just barely even shoot the basketball. Like it just doesn't seem like he really wants to score that much. He's not an aggressive player. He's a good defender and like he's a good teammate. It seems like people like him, but I don't know. I just feel like he should be doing more. Next, I'd probably go Joe Harris and Duncan Robinson. You could put these guys like right along with each other because both of them are really good shooters. Like obviously, that's two of the best shooters in the league. Joe Harris last year might have been the best shooter, the best 3-point shooter, and this year Duncan Robinson might be the best 3-point shooter. The other thing with them is that that's the only thing they really do, especially Duncan Robinson. So you can even switch them. Joe Harris can at least like he could drive a little bit. He could play a little bit of defense, but Duncan Robinson really only shoots the ball. But obviously, if you shoot like 40% from the three, then that's enough. You don't even have to do anything else well, and you'll be able to play. He starts for the Heat too, so he's had an amazing year for himself. OG Anunoby, he'll be he'll be my last C. I'll put him ahead of I'll put him behind these guys. Now OG's had a great year too. He went from being I don't think he even played in the playoffs, like maybe a couple minutes, but last year he was nothing really, and like all the Raptors players always do, he improved so much, developed, and he's a solid starting small forward and uh, just an amazing defender. He's improved offensively, so I like it. I like his game a lot. I'll make oh Miles Bridges is a B. I would say he's an explosive player, great, just so athletic, and he's improved so much offensively. Like his skill, his ball handling has improved a lot. His shooting, he even like has a step back three now. The way he improved so much this year, I think he's just gonna improve again next year. And honestly, I think he could be a really really good player soon. Like a really like maybe even in the A range in a couple years. Next I would probably go Will Barton. Yeah, Will Barton also really athletic and a good offensive player. Just a guy that could get you buckets, and he's not the most efficient player, but he he's pretty he's a pretty good scorer. So not the best defender though. So Bridges could be ranked ahead of him. I'll go T.J. Warren. Same thing. Really good scorer. That's about it though. He's a okay defender. This is tough. I'll go Jonathan Isaac next. Now he's one of the best defenders in the league, and his offensive game is not there yet. He's not a very good offensive player, but he's an insane defender, like insane defender. So that's why he's ranked so high. I'll go Kelly Oubre, super explosive player. He has so many great dunks on people, and he's actually a really good shooter too, and a pretty defender. Not he's improved a lot from his like first couple years. You could put Oubre even ahead of Wiggins, but I don't know. I think Wiggins gets way too much hate because he had so much upside when he was drafted. So and he just didn't live up to it, obviously. But it's not like he was a bust. You know what I mean? There's so many worse number one picks. Like they got the Timberwolves got a guy that many years was a borderline all star. You know, like this year, he like on the Timberwolves, he was a borderline all star. Like he almost made the All Star game. He had great numbers, and like he was just so hyped up that people don't realize that he's actually a good player. He just people just I don't know. He just gets way too much hate. I feel like. I'll go Bohan Bogdanovic. No, I'll probably put him right here because he's a great shooter, obviously, really good scorer, can get you a basket. He's really clutch actually, and not a good defender. He's not the all around player of like Kelly Oubre or Andrew Wiggins, so I'll put them ahead of them, ahead of Bog. Next, I'll go Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward is maybe the best playmaker on this whole list, and he does not get enough credit for his playmaking, and that's so important in the Celtics offense because they have so many great shooters around him, so many great players around him, and when he has the ball in his hand, usually good things happen. Also, Jason Tatum too, and Kemba and Jaylen Brown. But that whole team is just filled with guys that could just make plays for each other, and I feel like he does fit that team really well. And I don't really want them to trade him because he like yeah he's overpaid, but he's still like he's still a really good player. Like I would not be surprised if he made the All Star game next year. I would say the last guy in the B range is Tobias Harris. He's really similar with Gordon Hayward. Really good player. Way too overpaid. Way too overpaid. Um, he's a good shooter. Really good scorer. He's a good rebounder. I mean, he's a good player, but he's not worth the contract that he got paid. So then the first guy, I'll probably put DeRozan as the first A. Yeah, DeRozan's definitely fallen off since he's on the Spurs. When he was on the Raptors, he was an All Star starter, and if he wasn't a starter, easily made the All Star game. So you got to feel kind of bad for him because he was so loyal to Toronto, and they just dump him. Obviously, it worked out well for them, but I definitely see that he's not happy in San Antonio. But he's still a really good player and deserves to be an A. Just his athleticism, his his ability to get to the basket. He's not a great defender, but like when he when it matters, he'll step up defensively. He's a pretty good playmaker too. So next, I would go uh, Zach LaVine or Chris Middleton. I'll probably go Zach LaVine just because he's a way better. Obviously, he's super explosive, way better at getting to the basket than Chris Middleton. But defensively, Chris Middleton is actually a really great defender, and Zach LaVine is a horrendous defender. So that's why I rank Chris Middleton ahead. Chris Middleton's a better shooter. His team is, obviously they might have double the wins as the Bulls. Probably not, but they have so many wins. Well, they might. I don't know. Um. So I would go. Honestly, I think Kawhi Leonard's the only guy that deserves to be an S because he's just in a tier of his own on this list because Giannis isn't on this list, LeBron isn't, Kevin Durant isn't. So based on this list, he's in a tier of his own. Brandon Ingram is an A, and I would say he's the second best on this list because like he's stepped up so much this year. Like even in big games, he performs and shoots efficiently. Like he rarely had a bad shooting game. He rarely didn't score 20 points. He rarely did not show up. He's been amazing this year. He's always a pretty good solid defender and he's a good defender this year too. But he's like he's a great offensive player this year, which I did not think he would improve. I thought he would step his game up a little bit, but he definitely deserves most improved player. A couple of guys also deserve it, like Bam Adebayo, Devontae Graham should be mentioned, but Ingram I wouldn't he should feel like he deserves it for sure. And then Kawhi Leonard in a tier of his own, absolute monster, can do everything, can shoot great, drives great, pull up from mid range great, post up game great, like defense unbelievable, by far the best on this list. Um, like clutch gene, obviously super clutch, has 2 Finals MVPs. He's he's um he's unbelievable. In my opinion, he's the best player in the league just because of his ability to win. And if I have a superstar, I want to win, and I feel like Kawhi Leonard is the best winner out of anyone, and it's not even close. Like, I mean, this guy took a team that's the Raptors, and they were a team that was like cursed, and he took them and just carried them to a championship. So obviously Siakam and Lowry had a lot of good games, but Kawhi had a great game pretty much every single game of every series. So that's why he's the clear cut S, just absolute tier of his own over anyone else. So yeah, so that's my small forwards list. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.